What's up guys, welcome to another session with Mr. Abdul Wahab. This is Hermes Test Prep and we're working on the writing and language part of the new SAT exam. In the previous video we worked on the first passage of the writing and language test. Today we're going to be working on the second passage of it. We're going to be answering questions 12 to 22 and we're going to try to show the viewer or whoever is watching this video that this part of the exam is actually not as hard as some make it out to seem. So let's get to the point immediately. So, dark snow. This is the topic of the text. Dark snow. So most of Greenland's interior is covered by a thick layer of ice and compressed snow, known as the Greenland ice sheet. So the size of the ice sheet fluctuates. It changes seasonally from one season to another. In summer, average daily high temperatures in Greenland can rise to slightly above 50 degrees Fahrenheit, partially melting the ice. So in the winter, however, the sheet thickens as additional snow falls and average daily low temperatures can drop to as low as 20 degrees. Now, again, in this part of the exam, you need to take a look at the parts which are underlined and which have a number of the question that corresponds to the question on the right. So which choice most accurately and effectively represents the information in the graph? So if you go down below, we've got a graph right here. So we need to make sure that the information represented in the text or in the passage accurately represents or restates what's mentioned in this graph. Okay, so they're talking to which temperature, to which degree does the temperature drop to during the winter? So to as low as 20 degrees. Now, if we take a look at the graph, okay, here you have the fluctuation of the temperature in Greenland. Average daily high and low temperatures recorded at Nuuk Weather Station, Greenland from 1961 to 1990. Those are the average daily high and low temperatures. The dashed line or the separated line is the average daily high, and the line which is not separated or the one line average represents the average daily low. So we're taking a look at the low one, okay, the one which is not divided into pieces. And we can clearly see that the lowest it has gotten to is actually 12 degrees Celsius, okay, which is of course quite low, and it's not the same number represented here. So it goes to as low as 12 degrees actually. So I'm not keeping my answer. I'm actually gonna change this one. So it's not A. So to 12 degrees Fahrenheit. Now this is true. Okay, this is true. To their lowest point on December the 13th. Now, does this lowest point, does it occur or happen on December the 13th, which is probably over here somewhere? No, not exactly. It's 19 degrees Celsius around December 13. So C is also not the right answer. To 10 degrees Fahrenheit and stay there for months. Now, it doesn't get that low actually. It gets to 12, that's the lowest it gets to, and it stays there for a few days and then it goes back up. So it doesn't stay there for months even. So that's why D is also wrong. So the answer we're looking for is actually B. So proceeding. Typically, the ice sheet begins to show evidence of thawing in the late summer. Okay, so thawing is basically the melting of the ice. It begins to melt or show evidence of melting in the late part of the summer. This follows several weeks of higher temperatures. So this happens after several weeks of higher temperatures. So here we've got question 13. Which choice most effectively combines the two sentences at the underlined portion? So we're taking a look at these two sentences, okay? So we've got typically the ice sheet begins to show evidence of thawing in late summer. This follows several weeks of higher temperatures. Now, my problem with these two sentences is that there is a little bit of repetition with the word this. I don't need the word this, okay? So if we take a look at the options that we have, A, so in late summer, following several weeks of higher temperatures. Now this looks like a decent answer. It is brief, it's succinct, it gets to the point immediately, so I'm liking this answer. Let's take a look at the other options that we have. And this thawing follows. Now again, there's repetition by mentioning the words this thawing, so this makes B wordy. and such thawing, same problem that we have in B, so we're canceling C as well. Summer, and this evidence follows. Well, the evidence doesn't follow several weeks of higher temperatures, it's the thawing, so that's why D is wrong. So I'm going with A. Now, for example, in the summer of 2012, virtually the entire Greenland ice sheet underwent thawing at or near its surface by mid-July, which is the earliest date on record. So they're giving us an example of the summer of 2012 when the Greenland ice sheet underwent thawing, okay, by mid-July, which is not late summer. So this example actually contrast what was mentioned in the topic sentence or the first sentence of the paragraph. So I wouldn't be using for example, okay, because this doesn't give an example of the sentence that preceded it. This actually gives a contrasting example to the sentence that preceded it. So I'm not keeping it. I do need change, so I'm not going with A. However is a good way to introduce an opposing or a contrasting example or point of view. So I'm liking however. As such introduces an effect kind of a relationship. So there is no relationship, a cause-effect kind of relationship between those two sentences. So I'm not going with as such. Moreover, we use moreover to introduce an additional piece of information which follows from previously giving information. We're not doing this. We're not providing more information. We're just providing one piece of information which contrasts what was mentioned before it. So moreover is not really the right linking word that you should be using here. The best one is however. Moving on. So most scientists looking for the causes of the great melt of the 2012 have focused exclusively or mostly on rising temperatures. So the summer of 2012 was the warmest in 170 years, records show. But Jason Box, okay, an associate professor of geology at Ohio State, believes that another factor added to the early thaw, which is the dark snow problem. Now let's take a look at questions 15 and 16. So what change should be made, if any, okay, to this underlined part? Box, an associate professor of geology at Ohio State, believes that another factor added to the early thaw. Now, my problem with this underlined part, which is something that you should notice right at the beginning, is the fact that we have an appositive, or what we call a non-restrictive, or basically a parenthetical element. So there's an appositive or an element in the sentence that is not necessary to the sentence itself, which we could cancel if we need to, and the sentence would still retain its meaning. So, but Jason Box believes that another factor added to the early thaw. Now, since we can cancel this element without any change to the meaning of the sentence, okay, we should be putting this phrase between two commas whenever you have such a non-restrictive or a parenthetical element, okay? It should be put between commas, okay? Now, we do have a comma at the beginning of the parenthetical element, but we don't have a comma at the end right here where there should be an element, or where there should be a comma, okay? So I'm going to take a look at the options that I have, and I'm going to go with the one that provides me with a comma before, okay, and a comma after the parenthetical element. So I'm not going to go with no change because I need change in the sentence. Box, an associate professor of geology at Ohio State. So here they added the comma at the end, but there's no comma before the parenthetical element. So this makes B wrong. Now, Box, an associate professor of geology at Ohio State. So here I've got my two commas that I'm looking for. So C is looking good, but I'm going to go through D. Box, an associate professor of geology at Ohio State, believes. Now, when you do this, you're eliminating or taking away parts of the parenthetical sentence or the appositive. But at Ohio State is part of the appositive itself. It shouldn't be outside of the comma. It should be included within the comma at the end, okay? So that's why D is wrong. Now, 16, he believes that another factor added to the early thaw. which is the dark snow problem. Now, when you have a phrase, okay, that explains something that was mentioned before it, or when you want to try to give an example of what you're speaking, okay, a semicolon is not exactly the right way of doing this. We have the semicolon right here, okay. When you're doing this, what you should be using is a colon, okay. So here's an example, okay. Here is an example. If I want to say, for example, I bought 3 items from the grocery store, okay. Now I want to say what those 3 items are. I put a colon, okay. A bag of chips, a bottle of water, and, for example, a loaf of bread. So I'm using my colon here to introduce the items that I mentioned before. Now he said that there is another factor added to the early thaw, which is the dark snow problem. So I want to go for the option that provides me with my colon. Now here we have 2 options, okay? Now once you use the colon, there is no need at all, okay, for saying being, or to introduce this option, okay, with the word being. Okay, you could immediately go and mention your items in the list, okay, without any linking word. So that makes D wrong. And if you say and it was, this is too wordy, and the semicolon would be incorrect in B, and so we do need change. So the answer is C. According to Box, a leading Greenland expert, again here we have, by the way, another appositive or parenthetical element. It's put suitably between 2 commas, so of course this is correct. And a parenthetical element describes, okay, a noun that's mentioned before it, so which is Box, or the person called Box here. So according to Box, who is a leading Greenland expert, tundra fires in 2012 from as far away as North America produced great amounts of soot. Some of it drifted over Greenland in giant plumes of smoke and then fell as particles onto the ice sheet. Now here we have a slightly large sentence, okay? It begins right here from according, okay, and it ends right here at the point. Now we have 2 clauses, okay, in the sentence. We have the clause that begins, according to Boggs, a leading Greenland expert, tundra fires in 2012 from as far away as North America produced great amounts of soot. So that's the first, okay, clause in the sentence. The second one is some of it drifted over Greenland in giant plumes of smoke and then fell as particles onto the ice sheet. Now, when we are combining 2 sentences or 2 clauses together, we need some form of a conjunction to join them to each other. If you don't add the conjunction, what you will get is a run-on sentence. Okay, what you will get is a run-on sentence. So, by saying some of it, okay, now this noun, it, which we're talking about, is not exactly a conjunction or a pronoun that would link the 2 sentences together. I need a linking word, okay? So I do need to change it. I need to change it. I need a word that links 2 clauses together. By saying soot, again, I'm using a noun. Some soot drifted over Greenland. Soot is not a linking word. But if I say some of which, okay, now which, okay, links, some of which would link the soot, okay, to the next sentence. And this is the proper way of linking 2 sentences together by using, this is one way, of course, a relative pronoun like which. Now, delete the underlined portion. Some drifted over Greenland. Again, here some would serve as the subject of the sentence, but there is no linking word between the 2 clauses. So, some of it drifted over Greenland in giant plumes of smoke and then fell as particles onto the ice sheet. Now, here we have the underlined part, which is fell. Okay, let's take a look at it. Okay, let's take a look at it. Here we need to take a look if the tense is correct. Some of it falls, will fall, or had fallen. If we take a look at the verbs before, we have drifted, okay, we have produced, so we're using the simple past tense, okay? So we should continue with the simple past tense, which is fell. So I'm keeping it. I'm going with no change. I don't need the simple present. I don't need the future or the past perfect. So I'm keeping fell. Scientists have long known that soot particles facilitate melting by darkening snow and ice, limiting its ability to reflect the sun's rays. So when there's snow and there's ice, since it's colored white, it's easier for the snow to reflect the light of the sun, which helps it stay colder. Now here, limiting its ability. The its we're looking for is the its of possession, because we're looking about the ability which belongs, okay, we're looking at the ability that belongs to the snow and the ice, okay, limiting their or its ability to reflect the sun's rays, okay. So we're looking for the word that actually does the job of the possessive pronoun properly. Now its, okay, it's, when it's written this way, is the word it plus is, okay? The proper way of writing the possessive its is its. Now, at this point, once you've noticed this problem, it is time to check and see if it's, this one, is the proper possessive pronoun to use, okay? Or if you should be using another possessive pronoun, okay? So, here again, we are referring to the snow, okay? So scientists have long known that soot particles facilitate melting by darkening snow and ice. So we have two things. Limiting its ability to reflect the sun's rays. So it is referring to two things, not one. And we use it for the singular. There's another word that does the job properly, and it's the word there, okay? Because there is plural, it's possessive, so this is the word you're looking for, okay? Now, this there is the there of location, like stand over there, okay? So this is not the one we're looking for. So we've eliminated all the wrong answers. As Box explains, soot is an extremely powerful light absorber. It settles over the ice and captures the sun's heat. The result is a self-reinforcing cycle. As the ice melts, the land and water under the ice became exposed. And since land and water are darker than snow, the surface absorbs even more heat, which is related to the rising temperatures. Now here, once you read this sentence, you're expecting a kind of a cause-effect sort of relationship. Now, again, since, here you have the word since. Since land and water are darker than snow, the surface absorbs even more heat. So what happens? Which is related to the rising temperatures? Is this why the general temperature of the Greenland ice sheet is increasing? Not exactly. Now, which choice best completes the description of self-reinforcing cycle? We need to make sure that the cycle is repeating itself, okay, with the words we use. So we do need change, okay? We do need change. So raises the surface temperature. This doesn't exactly raise the surface temperature. We're talking about the cycle where the rising temperature, okay, leads to the thawing of the ice or the melting of the ice. As temperature increases, the ice begins to melt, okay? We're looking for this kind of a cycle or a relationship. That's the reinforcing cycle that we're talking about right here. So this doesn't raise the surface temperature and it begins to cool at a certain point. Well, sure, but that's not the point being made here. It leads to additional melting, okay? So when the surface absorbs even more heat, this will lead to more melting, okay? So that's the answer we're looking for that is related to the information given before. Moving on, so Box's research is important because the fires of 2012 may not be a one-time phenomenon. So he's telling us that this thing that happened in 2012 might not happen for only one time. It might repeat. According to scientists, rising Arctic temperatures are making northern latitudes greener and thus more fire-prone. the pattern box observed in 2012 may repeat itself again with harmful effects on the Arctic ecosystem. So I'm going to stop right here for a second. What change should be made with the words itself again? Should it be just itself, or itself with damage and with harmful effects? It's itself possibly. Now, here's the thing, okay? When you're using the word repeat, okay, the word repeat alone indicates that something is happening again and again. So you may say the pattern box observed in 2012 may happen again. But once you say repeat, there's no need to mention the word again. Okay, again, in English, we try to keep things brief, okay? So we do need change, okay, because I'm not going to keep again with the word repeat. By removing the word again, I get itself alone, which is fine. Okay, this looks like a good answer. So itself with damage and harmful effects, where harmful effects are damage. So by saying the word damage and harmful effects, I'm just speaking more. I'm adding more words. I don't want to add more words. I want to take away words, okay, and keep the meaning, of course. So may repeat itself possibly. May repeat itself possibly. It may possibly repeat itself, okay? So here, the positioning of the adverb is just very awkward, okay? There's awkward use or placement of a modifier. That's being misplaced. So B is the best answer that we have. So Box is currently organizing an expedition to gather this crucial information. The next step for Box and his team is to travel to Greenland to perform direct sampling of the ice in order to determine just how much soot is contributing to the melting of the ice sheet. Members of the public will be able to track his team's progress and even help fund the expedition through a website Box has created. Now, to make this paragraph most logical, sentence 4 should be placed. Now, sentence 4 is right here. So Box is currently organizing an expedition. Okay, where should we place it? Now, if you take a look at this paragraph, okay, so sentence 5 says, the next step for Box and his team is to travel to Greenland to perform direct sampling of the ice in order to determine just how much the soot is contributing to the melting of the ice sheet, okay? So that is the next step that he has to take. So in this case, we do need to move, okay, sentence number 4 and place it at a more appropriate place. Now, after sentence, I'm not going to keep it where it is now, okay? So it's not going to stay there. So after sentence 1, if I put it after sentence 1 and I say Box is currently organizing an expedition, that's going to be in a very awkward or wrong place, because here it's important because the fires of 2012 may not be a one-time phenomenon. They may repeat. So according to scientists, rising Arctic temperatures are making northern latitudes greener and thus more fire-prone. If I put the sentence right here, it's not going to be relevant to the information given in sentence 1 and 2. After sentence 2, now, if I put it right after northern latitudes greener and thus more fire prone, Box is currently organizing an expedition, and then say the pattern Box observed in 2012 may repeat itself. Here again, I'm putting a piece of information that does not belong in that particular spot, okay? Now, if I put it after sentence 5, the next step for Box and his team is to travel to Greenland to perform direct sampling, okay? So his next step, okay, is to travel to Greenland to perform direct sampling of the ice in order to determine just how much the soot is contributing to the melting of the ice sheet. So he is currently organizing an expedition. So if I put it right here, okay, he is currently organizing an expedition to gather this crucial information that's mentioned in sentence 4, okay, refers directly to how, okay, much the soot is contributing to the melting of the ice. So this is the best place for sentence number 4, and that's after sentence 5. By placing it in any other place, it's not gonna give us the intended or the best meaning. By saying Box is currently organizing an expedition to gather this crucial information, which crucial information are we referring to exactly? Okay, so we need to put the sentence in the place where it best provides the meaning. Okay, so this was passage number 2. As you can see, the questions are not exactly as complicated as some people might make them out to be. With a lot of practice, you could get all of this done in a very short time. Please leave your comments in the comments section below. Make sure you share these videos with your friends, and thank you a lot for watching. See you soon on the next video.